This weekend, the People's National Party will be going into 6 regional executive councils across the country. While these councils will be focused primarily on elections for regional leadership, other critical issues will arise as we enter into the new political year. First of all is the question of the update on the National Consultation on Violent Crime Prevention and Reduction, which was held with stakeholders in July of this year. The first report, which we expect to receive in the next day or so, will be shared with participants tomorrow, and the recommendations will be developed into an action plan, which we hope to report to the country in September, and which we will also be sharing with the government as well as the country as a whole. There will be also some critical presentations on policy solutions as we continue to strive as a party to break the structures of inequality and to drive meaningful growth and development for the people of the country. And this set of policy proposals in summary form is what is contained in the covenant that we have issued to the Jamaican people. The third issue really relates to the People's National Party and its new constitution, which has been prepared following a review of our Structures Review Committee. As we approach our 81st anniversary in this coming annual conference, we continue to strengthen the core of our organization and prepare ourselves to be a government in waiting and to be able to build a better Jamaica. This has been a steady, focused, and strategic rebuilding process. We launched at our last conference our covenant with the Jamaican people, and that contained a lot of the work that was done by the 3 commissions that had been established on the land ownership, the Commission on the New Economy, and the Commission on Education Reimagined. Over the period, we have had a discussion with the broad leadership of the party in constituencies, engaging some 2,000 people. The next phase of the discussion will be going into the general membership workers at the constituency level. And we are hoping that in time we will be able to have a set of policy proposals embraced not just by the leadership, but by all the membership and the rank and file of the party. I remain firmly of the view that it is the party that should take ownership of the policies of our government rather than it be considered to be the policies of particular individuals or ministers when they become established in ministries. Our proposed covenant will lay out some basic objectives. Breaking, first of all, the 2-tiered unequal system of education so that all our citizens can be equipped for inclusive growth and for effective personal development in the knowledge-driven world of the 21st century. The second objective is broadening land ownership and the distribution of wealth through land for the over 700,000 Jamaicans who live in so-called squatter communities, and for the 60% of small farmers who work land but who have no title to the land. And the third central objective involves building a new and dynamic economy where businesses of all sizes and new industries such as the cannabis industry or industries involving the new information and communications technologies or the cultural industries can find a central place in the new economy which we are seeking to build. Our covenant also deals with the central challenges being faced by our labor force and the spread of the so-called contract worker system. It will focus on the issue that I mentioned earlier of crime and violence and how do we build safe and secure communities, and environmental sustainability and rural development. We will continue the process of consultations about this covenant in the business session of this year's annual conference. And I want to make it very clear that Comrade Basil Waite is here, has been given direct responsibility to oversee and direct the consultations that must take place with the rank and file in the constituencies and with our direct members across the country. At a later point, we're going to be engaging in further consultations with the non-governmental organizations, the business sector, the churches, etc., because we expect that this will be yet another expression of our commitment to the politics of participation. Our annual conference will also present the new edition of the People's National Party Constitution. In fact, it is not often known that our Constitution, when formed, when drafted originally by Norman Manley and the first executive of the party, was viewed as one of the most progressive in the entire Caribbean, indeed in the entire progressive world. It was the model, for example, of such progressive movements like the African National Congress in South Africa. While we are proud of that history, it is also true that we must also evolve with the changes. Last year, I issued a mandate to the Structures Review Committee of the party to thoroughly update our Constitution, as it is the ultimate guide and the foundation legal document of our party. The Structures Review Committee has completed its work and presented a new edition of the PNP's Constitution to the National Executive Council, which it did in July of this year. Some critical areas to note includes the provision in the Constitution for an automatic auditing of party groups, triggered by having 60 groups in a constituency, and the re-verification of members every 5 years throughout the party. This is to ensure the organizational integrity of the party, and also to ensure that groups are not just being formed without actually doing the effective work, organizational work that groups are supposed to do. The Constitution also provides for a mandatory leadership training, call it political education, if you will, for all group officers and delegates within the party as a mandatory aspect of group responsibilities and delegate responsibilities within the party. Modern and effective organizations require strong leadership at all levels, and we are seeking through this provision to ensure that our leadership at the community level is trained, but also that there's a broad understanding of the principles and objectives of the party and the purposes for which the party was formed. There is also a provision for the servicing of party groups. Members of Parliament, councillors, candidates will now be required to attend party group meetings in their respective constituencies and divisions. There is also a provision for the role and responsibilities of both group members and direct members to be expanded in the regions and constituencies. We recently, that is to say a few years ago, made provisions for individual direct membership, but we have felt it necessary to make provisions for their more effective inclusion in the life and work of the party otherwise. So that it's not just formal membership, but that we continue to have a notion of membership involving effective work on behalf of the party. And those provisions are also there. For the first time, we are also making provision and defining in specific terms the role and responsibilities of elected representatives and political leaders. We have outlined specific responsibilities for our elected representatives on the one hand and our political leaders on the other hand. And these are often one and the same. We now will have a standard by which to judge the performance of our elected representatives within the party, our members of parliament, councillors, as well as our political leaders. And we are also developing, I should point out, a code of conduct which will guide the party and the party membership, and by which we'll be able to hold our members accountable, our leaders in particular accountable, whether in government or outside of government. As we drive for accountability, there will be sanctions for non-performance and or breaches. In addition, I would like to point out, particularly since, well, the president of the women's movement is here, but she's here in both her capacity as president of the women's movement and a member of the Structures Review Committee, that the party has also incorporated in our bylaws and regulations the policies against sexual harassment in our operations, and this will be operationalized, as I said, in our bylaws and regulations. We consider that that is important. And we are also taking steps to establish a mediation committee within the party to ensure that there is a more effective resolution of disputes which may arise, and to utilize properly trained persons to assist the party in this. I think oftentimes the work of building and strengthening an organization is not always grasped, but it is always important that every organization, especially one with the longevity that we have, that has existed for more than 8 years, it is vitally important that we continue to step forward with the times and to undertake those steps that will make us not only more attractive as an organization, but fundamentally more effective in serving the needs of the people. Thank you very much.